My dear students, I am your Tumpa ma'am. Today I am going to teach your fourth chapter from science book, that is materials, metals and non-metals. First, I just want to tell you what is matter. Anything which occupies space and has mass is called matter. Okay. Now, you already learnt in previous classes that is matter are of two types, pure substance and mixture. And these pure substances are of two types. One is elements, another is compounds. Now what is element? Element is a substance which cannot be split up into two or more substances by usual chemical methods like applying heat, light and electric energy. So iron, oxygen, magnesium, copper, aluminium all are examples of elements. Okay. You already learned that element has a unique composition. As a result, all elements differ from each other in their properties. Because of their different properties, elements are used in a variety of ways in our daily lives. However, elements also possess some common properties. Based on the similarities on their properties, elements can be divided into two broad classes, that is metals and non-metals. Okay. So what is the name of this chapter? And very important chapter, basic chemistry involves in it, that is metals and non-metals. Metals. Metals are mostly solid substances that are hard, lustrous, malleable, ductile, sonorous and good conductors of heat and electricity. My dear students, lustrous, malleable, ductile, sonorous are new words to you, and I will explain all of these new words. Copper, gold, iron and aluminium are some examples of metals. Non-metals. Non-metals are substances that are soft, lackluster, non-malleable, non-ductile, non-sonorous and are poor conductors of heat and electricity. Some examples of non-metals are carbon, sulfur, graphite. Okay. Now I am going to discuss the different properties of metals and non-metals. So now we learn a comparative study of metals and non-metals. First, that is physical state. Metals are generally solid at room temperature and crystalline in nature. Examples are magnesium, aluminium, copper and iron. Although metals are solid at room temperature, there is an exception, that is mercury. Mercury exists in liquid state at room temperature, although mercury is a metal. Okay. Now non-metal. Non-metal exists in solid or gaseous state at room temperature, like oxygen, chlorine, hydrogen, etc. But you must remember that bromine is a non-metal but exists in liquid state. Now the next point is luster. Metals have luster. What is luster? Actually, metals have a shiny appearance and this is known as metallic luster. But you may remember that sodium loses its luster when exposed to air. Actually, this sodium reacts with air and form a oxide layer on it. Okay, so they become dull in appearance. Non-metals are lacklustrous. That is, they are not shiny in appearance. There is an exception. The only non-metals that show luster are iodine and two form of carbon, that is graphite and diamond. Next point, that is hardness. Metals are hard, non-metals are soft. But must remember that sodium, potassium and calcium are examples of soft metals, and these sodium and potassium can be cut with a knife. Okay. Non-metals are soft, but diamond, one form of carbon, that is the hardest. Okay. So this diamond, although a non-metal, it is very hard. Now, the next point is malleability and brittleness. What is malleability? Actually, the property which allows the metals to be hammered into thin sheets or foil is called malleability. So, gold, silver, aluminium, copper, most of the metals are malleables. Okay. Because of this property of metal, they are very useful for us. For example, aluminium foils are widely used for safe packing of foodstuff, medicine and chocolate. Okay. And brittleness, the property by which substance can be broken into pieces, is known as brittleness. Malleability is a property of metal and brittleness is a property of non-metal. Okay. Now ductility. The property by which substances can be drawn into thin wires is known as ductility. Most metals are ductile and non-metals are non-ductile. Okay. Due to ductility, we can see that aluminium wire, copper wire, okay, silver wire, okay, as they can be easily drawn into thin wires. Okay. And non-metals are non-ductile. Now I am going to discuss about thermal conductivity. What is thermal conductivity? The property of substances to allow heat to pass through them is known as thermal conductivity. Metals are good conductor of heat. Okay. So they are widely used in the making of cooking utensils. Examples are silver and copper. Most non-metals are bad conductors of heat. Examples are iodine, sulfur, silicon. But exception is that diamond is a good conductor of heat, and you all know that diamond is a non-metal. Okay. Now I am going to discuss about electrical conductivity. The property of substances to allow electric current to pass through them is known as electrical conductivity. Mostly, metals are good conductors of electricity. Hence, they are widely used for making electrical appliances. Examples are aluminium and copper. Most non-metals are bad conductors of electricity. Exception, carbon in the form of graphite can conduct electricity, and you all know that graphite is a non-metal. Okay, so which non-metal can conduct electricity? Graphite. And which non-metal can conduct thermal conductivity? That is diamond. Okay. Now come to the last point, that is sonority. The property by which substance can produce a ringing sound when they are struck with a hard object is known as sonority. Most metals are sonorous. Thus, they are used to make objects like bells. So, metals are used for making bells. Metal wires are used in musical instruments. Non-metals are non-sonorous. Okay. So, the property by which substances can produce a ringing sound when they are struck with a hard object is known as sonority. This is up to your today's lesson. Okay. Thank you, students.